Hey, my wrestling friends, you're listening at the right place at the right time. Perhaps you even manifested being right here. With the law of reciprocity, do you believe in giving to receive? Do you want to change your financial life for real? Like real cash, real money? Then call 312-896-1965 to find out how. Again, call 312-896-1965 today. I'm here every step of the way to help you. Wrestling is certainly the sport of champions, but cash is king. So call today at 312-896-1965. Again, that's 312-896-1965. Wrestling is the sport that builds character, but financial freedom will build your dreams.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the WWE Podcast. My gosh, is there a lot going on in the world of WWE, and it's not just in ring. It's a lot happening on the outside of the ring. This morning, we had two major news stories break in the WWE world, and the first was Triple H, at least that's how I first saw it, tweeting out that The Rock is now a board member on TKO. So The Rock getting paid very handsomely to be a part of the board on TKO Holdings, obviously the parent company now of WWE. That's a big deal. It really begs the question, how does The Rock keep his schedule? He's still doing movies, I think. He's obviously owns the XFL. He's trying to put together a run in WWE. He's got his Project Rock clothing brand. It's just pretty amazing that The Rock keeps it all together. So that was news story number one. And again, I don't know what the implications are with The Rock joining as a board member on TKO. I don't know what that will mean moving forward, other than to say it's another mega payday for The Rock, as they're calling it. And does that mean he has even more influence on creative? Any more than he already has, which is pretty much almost whatever he wants to do. So he kind of maxed out that part of his control. But it is a big deal. The Rock on the board of the company that owns the WWE. So that's massive news, and we'll see how that plays itself out and exactly what that means for WWE moving forward. So that's news story number one that I saw. And then shortly following that, we got the news that WWE is now going to be streaming Raw starting in January of 2025. So a year from now, that WWE will be streaming Raw on Netflix. If you haven't already seen it, I'm probably not breaking any news, but WWE is now going to be streaming Raw on Netflix starting in January of 2025. This is a $5 billion deal to be paid out over 10 years. And this is as WWE's contract with Comcast nears its expiration, and this will be available to those in North America and some other international markets. I know the UK is one of them, and this is from the TKO president and chief operating officer, Mark Shapiro. He said, "Our partnership dramatically expands the reach of WWE and brings weekly live appointment viewing to Netflix." Now, Netflix has a built-in base of 70-some million subscribers, so this is a big deal for Netflix, a big deal for WWE, and this is the first time that WWE is going to be bringing a live show, their show that's been going on for 31 years, to a streaming platform. They are going all in on streaming. Now, Netflix's stock rose today. WWE's stock rose today. It's a big deal for all involved, and I think it'll be a success. What bigger platform is there, streaming platform, than Netflix? I will be glad to see Hulu go by the wayside. People are cutting cords left and right with their cable companies. This makes sense. It makes sense. Now, does that mean you're also going to have a subscription to Peacock for the WWE library? Yes. So there is that, but you would be paying for a cable subscription to watch Raw live anyway. And if you don't, and you're like myself and you watch Hulu on the delayed version, well, then you're still paying however much you're probably going to have to pay Netflix to watch the live version if you want to. Now, do I know if the Hulu version after the fact is still going to exist? I would imagine so. These are just for live streaming rights. Over for WWE and Netflix. So this is a big deal, a 10-year deal, with Netflix, $5 billion over 10 years. That's a bit. I mean, $500 million a year. Think about that. And to correct or amend my statement just that I made about having dual subscriptions, according to this deal, and this is actually a CBSnews.com, so this isn't just coming from any wrestling website. It does clarify the duplicate need to have duplicate subscriptions for Peacock and Netflix and Hulu. So here's what it says: that Netflix is also going to stream specials such as SmackDown and NXT, in addition to hosting pay-per-view live events such as WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble. Pay-per-view content will be available to Netflix subscribers at no extra charge. So it looks like this is going to be a one-stop shop for everything, but I don't know the details of, well, is it only special times? Is it just a certain number of events per year that Netflix has the rights to? That kind of thing. I don't know, but TKO did jump more than 19% in their shares in early trading. So a massive stock rise in just one day. They're up by nearly 20%. Impressive. So for those of you that care about such things, from a financial standpoint, it's a big deal. If you care about the stocks and maybe considering investing in TKO Holdings or in WWE or Netflix, right now things look pretty healthy. And think about where we were just a year and a half ago. It's crazy how much has happened with the WWE turning over, and major mainstays in WWE have left, including Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, among others. So it's a big deal. WWE no longer owned by Vince. Vince has no say. Crazy. But all right, let's talk more about the product. WWE, the current product, as it is Rumble Week, in case you forgot. It is Royal Rumble Week, and we have a lot to get to tonight. We'll get to Monday Night Raw. By the way, I hope all of you have enjoyed the shows that I've done the last week or so with a couple of new female co-hosts, Amanda and Chrissy, who have been a lot of fun to listen to. I listened back to some of it, and both of them have done really nice jobs, and I think you'll hear more of them in the future. I'll just leave it at that. So thank you to both of them. And we have a lot coming up this week with the mailbag tomorrow. We have maybe another nice kind of specialty episode on Thursday. SmackDown comes to you on Saturday. But on Friday, it'll probably be a new show. New only because it's a PLE week, and that's the preview and prediction show for the Royal Rumble. I'm going to try to get that up as early as possible on Friday because the PLE is Saturday. So, and then it's right into the PLE reviews. No rest for the weary this week. If you're a content creator and you're a content creator focused on professional wrestling, this is absolutely one of your busiest weeks out of the year. So, hope you all get your rest. All right. Well, let's talk about Monday Night Raw, a big Raw from NOLA, and one that moved a lot of things forward, had memorable moments, and mostly good memorable moments, particularly the Punk and Cody segment that was, critically acclaimed, and with good reason. I don't really have a whole lot to complain about in that department. We talked about how, I'm more Punk than Punk is, and I'm more the American dream than you are. And both of them had very valid points. Neither turned heel, which is an interesting development. You kept waiting for somebody to cross that line potentially and have that person play the heel whenever these two do lock up. But right now, Punk is kind of on a tour of cutting promos but not getting into a program. And I think that's going to change come the Royal Rumble, which is going to be a very interesting matchup, very interesting PLE. We'll get to all the matches, obviously, later in the week. But with the match itself, the Royal Rumble match itself, you have CM Punk who's saying that he's going to be the one to win. Cody is saying the same. And they talked about the pipe bomb promo. They talked about, of course, Cody's dad. Because we can't have a program without Cody's dad being somehow spiritually involved. Maybe that's my only gripe, is constantly hearing about Cody's dad. And don't worry, there'll be more. When Cody captures the championship, and I think he will at WrestleMania, we're going to hear a whole lot more about his dad, and he'll probably get emotional, and we're all supposed to feel so empathetic towards him, and isn't this just so sweet? No, it's not. Now we get to see his stupid, smiling, bleach blonde politician face on the cover of 2K. I will tell you, I don't care if the WrestleMania 40 edition or the 40 years of WrestleMania edition of the 2K 24 game is double the price of the one that has Cody on it. It's worth the extra money to not have to see his face every single time I open the game. So there is that, and I will pay extra for that just so I don't have to see him. But for those that are Cody fans, I really don't think you have to worry. You even had Punk allude to the fact that you had a star come out of nowhere and take his spot that he thought he was destined for at WrestleMania. And we all thought he was talking about The Rock. He knew that we thought that that's who he was talking about, but he ended up saying that person's me. And there is something to be said for that, because it's a public acknowledgement of the fact that fans believe The Rock is going to be taking the place of Cody's rightful place this year at WrestleMania. So a really, really fun, well done, kind of built up promo. It sizzled up until the point where you thought they were going to come to blows, and they didn't, but it almost got to that point, and they both had mic drop moments, a tease of things to come. They'll definitely have an interaction in the Royal Rumble, just as I'm sure we'll get Drew and Punk. Obviously no Rollins. You'll probably get a Brock and Punk moment, maybe, if Brock is in there at the same time. There's going to be a lot of fun things that happen in the Rumble, and always those stories within stories that are told in that match. It is absolutely one of the best matches of the year. So, all right, well, so we have that, which has been the topic of conversation on Raw and listening to Raw reviews, is that promo segment, and it felt like a big deal. Now, we might get back to that a little bit later, but starting with the top of the show, Seth Rollins coming out to address the fans on his injury status. And it was interesting to me that, Rollins coming out there, many fans believe that was his kind of, admission that it was going to be Seth Rollins relinquishing the championship. And, I did think there was a small chance of that. But if he's coming out there and dragging it out and the fans are saying, thank you, Seth, and Seth was getting emotional, the longer it went on, the more I was thinking, yeah, no. He's going to tell us that at least he's going to make it to WrestleMania. And that's exactly what he said in so many words, that, he's going to keep his promise and do whatever it takes. He's going to do whatever it takes. And he said that Rollins recalled hitting him. Well, he went over his injury, and he said he thought for the first time there was a real possibility he might miss WrestleMania. A no chant broke out. Rollins said he appreciated it, but he still had to get an MRI done. And then he told us he has a grade 2 tear of his MCL and torn meniscus. Rollins said doctors are telling him that it will be a 3 to 4 month recovery time with surgery. He said if it were up to him, he'd be in the ring next week, but it's not up to him. And he said he doesn't know what the future holds, and taking things day by day, week by week. And that's when Imperium comes out. And you knew the moment, if you didn't know up until this point about where Rollins' injury status stood, even without him telling you, you kind of knew with Imperium coming out that all is well, at least from the perspective that he's not going to relinquish the championship. Not that the injury's a work, but rather that if your main concern is that Rollins isn't going to make WrestleMania, the fact that Imperium came out, I think, softened the fears of many that didn't already maybe read the tea leaves of what Seth was saying. So Imperium came out, namely Gunther, and who did most of the talking. And he mentioned about the tag team match with the New Day that Ludwig and Kaiser were going to have. And he said that Gunther said that Rollins reminds him of himself. And he added that it pulls at his heartstrings, that he's a champion everyone can be proud of. And him knowing he might not make it to WrestleMania makes him sad. Rollins said Gunther and his boys should have let him finish, because he was going to say he doesn't give a damn what the doctors tell him or how hard he has to rehab or push his knee. He said, I will keep my promise. I will take this title into WrestleMania, and I'll do every single thing in my power to walk out of WrestleMania the World Heavyweight Champion. Gunther said it was great, and he was happy to hear that. He said he thought that they saw a great champion fall last week, and he admires Rollins, but he has to. He's going to do whatever he has to enter WrestleMania and leave with the title. And then Gunther declared he's going to win the Royal Rumble. So a nice tease for something that also might be coming, and one that I think is a future main event matchup in Gunther versus Rollins. And that is intriguing to me. Now, Gunther's still in a different world. He's going to be on a different path, I think, from now through WrestleMania. I don't think you'll see Seth and Gunther face one another until after WrestleMania, unless they need to fill TV time. By the way, I don't know if Raw is going back to 3 hours. People have asked me that. I don't know if Raw is going back to, or 2 hours rather. I don't know if Raw is going back to 2 hours going to Netflix. We'll find that out too as we move forward. But back to Gunther and Rollins. This is more of a preview of what's to come post-Mania in my mind, because Gunther's about to engage not just in the Rumble match, but the general belief is that Brock Lesnar and Gunther are going to have some altercation in the Royal Rumble, as it's widely expected Brock reappears at the Rumble. And that's where these two either eliminate one another at the same time, or one's eliminated and the other one who's no longer in the match eliminates the one who still is, which is the most ridiculous rule or the ridiculous kind of loophole rather in the match, maybe of all time. But the fact is that Gunther's on a collision course with Brock Lesnar, and that means that Rollins is still on a collision course with Punk. And I really don't expect Rollins to be physically involved on Raw every week. In fact, I could see a few Raws where Seth is not even on the show. I mean, I actually think they'll somehow continue his presence there because we have an absentee champion already, and they're trying to do the anti-Roman thing with Seth, which is a big mistake, but that's been their push for Rollins. So I expect even if Rollins can't physically do much at Monday Night Raw over the coming weeks, you can still use his voice. You can still do physical stuff with Seth, but more of the he doesn't actually get touched type of thing where someone threatens to hurt him and Seth, avoids disaster, something like that, where he's not actually doing anything that could put his knee in jeopardy, but heels are trying to target it. And he's saved at the last second, that kind of thing. If they want to go that road, maybe they don't. Maybe Seth is just off TV for 4 to 6 weeks. So, but it looks like Punk and Rollins is still on. So that's a good thing. If you want that match, I think many of us do. All right. We got Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. Normally, when I talk about New Day matches, you think that I would come on here and berate them and get frustrated with them because they're the New Day and they're horrific when it comes to character tolerability. But this, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the fact that this is a double count out and they just didn't care about getting back in the ring. They just wanted to beat each other up, especially for New Day, who's always fun games, jokes, and 14-year-old boy humor. It's nice to see when they can actually show you they can be serious, which is a good thing. So these two teams are still fun to watch. I think that these two teams will continue their program even after the Rumble. They'll have an interaction at the Rumble and then continue it through probably maybe at Elimination Chamber. They'll wrap it up here with the New Day and Ludwig and Vinci. So this was a lot of fun. I mean, they beat each other here through production cases, through a table, just a lot more violent than you would ever expect this program to be. And that's not a complaint. It does show you that these two guys, Kofi and Xavier, when they're not acting like it's gym class freshman year of high school, are entertaining because it shows that they have more than just their 8-year run as being immature adults, and they can do more and they can be more. And this is the version of a New Day that that I might be able to get behind. All right, then we get Ivy Nile versus Valhalla. Maxine Dupree was at ringside in support of Ivy Nile. This match, sadly, was 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And we had Ivy Nile beat Valhalla. Now, there really wasn't a whole lot to this match. We got Nile playing to the crowd. She bulldogged Valhalla before pinning her. I'm not sure what the point of this was. Women's matches continue to not get the length that I think some of them, not all of them, need to be 15 minutes. But 2 minutes and 45 seconds? Jeez. All right. We continue to also see, by the way, Jey Uso on Raw in a much more limited capacity, but in a capacity that I don't know if this is going to damage him or help elevate New Day. And that is, every time the New Day now have been backstage, he's supporting them. He's trying to lift them up. He's, buddy with them. And the personalities fit. I don't think it's a bad fit from a on-air chemistry perspective. It's just that Jay on his own is also what makes him so great. He's not involved with his brother as a tag team. He's not in the bloodline. He's not in any kind of alliance, and now he's putting himself on a team in which that's what he was doing so great getting away from, was being a part of a team. He's done that 95% of his career. So I just hope this Jey Uso alliance with the New Day is short-lived. even though admittedly they seem to have chemistry and it makes sense. To me, it's not worth the sacrifice of the progress you've made with Jay as a single star, which cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. Okay. We then got Jax. Nia Jax coming out, and she recalled Ripley and Lynch stating last week that they want to face one another at WrestleMania, and Jax said they want to face each other because they know they can't beat her. Becky Lynch came out, but she's got red, like fire red hair now. So maybe that gave her some extra superpower. I'm not sure. For those of you who are Dragon Ball Z fans, like some Kamehameha. Did I say that right? Probably not. But we got Becky Lynch coming out, and she says look, I got Becky Lynch fans that listen to the show. I know y'all love her. But her use of the word dope is akin to me as a almost 39-year-old man trying to insult somebody my age by calling them a nerd or you jerk, you bad person. It's just horrifically weak. It's never caught on with me. She's called people dopes for since she arrived as the man. I never bought into it. I always thought that word was super weak and super PG, by the way. Not even PG, just G. Maybe it's TVY. Maybe that's what it is. But Lynch congratulated Jax for beating her and said now she has something new to talk about for the next 5 years. That was a pretty good line, which is true. Lynch said she knows she has a target on her back going into the Rumble, but not a target that was bigger than the one on Nia Jax's back. She said the people in the locker room don't agree on anything, but none of them like her. Like Jax, that is. Lynch said Jax probably injured nearly half of them. Wow. Lynch said she didn't know if she would enjoy winning the Rumble for a second time or watching Jax lose. So, as much as I criticized Lynch's promo last week, and I stand by everything I said because it felt robotic and very much read in her mind, and like somebody else wrote it for her from some kind of movie scene, this one felt more organic and something that she would actually say to Jax if this were supposed to be believed it was real, which is always what you want to be as a wrestling fan, just like watching any TV show or movie. But bringing up publicly that Jax probably injured nearly half of them does play on the fans' general belief and criticism, and really unfair criticism, of Nia Jax injuring half the roster. Nia is responsible for some of it, but honestly, it's just also some of it was the women's fault. The ones that were competing with Nia, it wasn't all Nia, but Nia gets the bad rap. And I enjoyed that line. So this was a more improved version of Becky. I don't know if it was the fire red hair getting into her brain, maybe the dye from the red getting into her brain and supercharging it, but it was better. So then we get Bayley. And I don't have a problem with Bayley, but why is she here? Or rather, we know why. How is she here? How does this happen? We all accept it because it's Rumble season. Oh, well, it helps build the match. And yeah, both of those things are true. But why can't it be that we see Bayley, we understand why she's there, but we also know how she's there? She got a special invitation. She got a, some kind of VIP pass from Adam Pearce, or we had Nick Aldis negotiate an appearance for her with Adam Pearce, but we don't even get any kind of explanation. That's inexcusable. But many of you don't care, or even if you do notice, you don't care that you don't want a reason why she's there. It's just that she's there that matters. I'm not a fan of that. But she was there and really didn't get a big reaction. I mean, I was trying to see where the fans stood in NOLA for Bayley, and it really wasn't overwhelmingly positive. But Bayley didn't have a big segment, really, in the scheme of things. She said she came to Raw to see Rhea Ripley, but she said this is almost better. She joined Lynch and Jax inside the ring and said she was there to make it clear she's going to win the Royal Rumble. Bayley shoved Lynch and went after her. Jax attacked Bayley, and then Lynch got up and fought Jax off before putting Bayley down with a manhandle slam. And then Jax threw Lynch over the top rope and dropped the leg on Bayley. So the obligatory, I'm going to throw you over the top rope before the Rumble to symbolize what I'm going to do to you, continues. At least it wasn't on a grand scale. I remember watching Raw in years gone by where it was an all-out brawl between like 15 guys, and all of them are throwing each other over the top rope like they're practicing for Sunday. I hated that. And speaking of things that, thinking of yesteryear that I hated probably the most, maybe the worst ending to a go-home show for WrestleMania of all time. Do you guys remember the go-home Raw, the final image of what you saw to WrestleMania 31? Anybody remember that? The tug of war over the Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship. Do you remember that? Oh, I do. They were literally, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar were literally standing in the ring to close Raw, each holding a side of the championship that Brock was already wearing, and they're pulling it towards each other like they are at some kind of summer camp doing a competition of tug of war. And I remember thinking, this is horrific. So that may be, and it still is horrific. If you want to go see something embarrassing, go watch that. Somebody got it in their head of how cool that visual will be, and then when it played out, it was even worse than you could have imagined. But back to the task at hand here, guys. This this whole deal with Bayley and Becky and Nia, I didn't hate it. I don't think it was outstanding, but it did what it needed to do. If you excuse Bayley being there and that doesn't bother you, then you probably thought this was effective, except for Bayley coming there to just say, I'm going to win the Rumble, and then getting manhandle slammed was kind of a waste of an appearance, if you ask me. And the fans, again, were not as supportive as I would hope that they would be at this point. That could easily change come Rumble time, though. And Nia Jax continues to do a nice job. I hate to say it. I wish I didn't get to say that every week. But she continues to feel more comfortable on the mic. Her leg drop does look devastating, and the way that it's sold is very well done. It's hard for me to criticize this. Okay, we got the whole by the numbers video. This was a different rendition of it. It is interesting. 60% of the winners go on to claim the title, and Gunther's the longest running of all time in the Rumble at 1 hour and 11 minutes. The most eliminations is Brock Lesnar at 13. Austin. Boy, did they drive that home or what? And I've said this for weeks, that the moment WWE, particularly it was, I believe, Michael Cole, brought up the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin, is the only star to go back to back. Well, no one's ever done it since Austin. I think Hogan did it, he mentioned. Then you're thinking, and then they bring up Cody and how Cody's trying to do what Austin's done. So I can absolutely believe that since that moment they brought it up about 2 months ago, the moment that Cody Rhodes declared himself for the Royal Rumble, I believe it was even after the Monday Night Raw after War Games, that they were setting up for how big of a moment it's going to be when Cody does go back to back. So that's my best assumption. All right. Let's see. Becky Lynch passed Rhea backstage, and Rhea said that looks like you should make other plans for WrestleMania. That was kind of funny. We got Dominic Mysterio, not to be confused with Nick, versus The Miz, and this match was exactly 10 minutes with Dominic Mysterio beating The Miz. The finish was Miz throwing a series of kicks at Dom, who set up for his finish. But Dom countered and put Miz in the position for a 619. Miz avoided it. McDonough distracted the ref, and then Balor hit Miz, who then took the 619. Dom hit a top rope frog splash on The Miz and got the victory. And then after the match, DIY came out, helped clear the Judgment Day from the ring. Miz hit a skull-crushing finale on McDonough, and then DIY set up for their meet-in-the-middle finish, but Balor saved McDonough and pulled him to safety at ringside. So, Balor did help Dom win. My question, though, is Rhea was trying to fire up Finn Balor, was she not? She was saying, where's that vicious side of Finn Balor? My question is, I don't know. Where was it? Was that really Finn Balor's vicious side? Or does she really mean bringing out the demon? Is that what she's referring to? I'm not sure. But we didn't certainly see the vicious side, my God, of Finn Balor. But, okay. We then got Ivar versus Chad Gable. And I know, guys, by the way, there are several backstage segments. I'm not going to go through a 3-hour Raw with every single backstage segment. So just keep that in mind. We got this match ending in 11 minutes with Ivar beating Chad Gable. Gable set up for a move on the top rope, but Valhalla showed up, screamed in his face, and Ivar slammed Gable on the mat and hit his top rope moonsault and got the victory. So Ivar gets another victory, another W in his column, and I don't hate it. I think Ivar needs a little bit of a momentum, and especially after last week getting pinned by Akira Tozawa, it was needed. All right, let's see. We got the whole Punk and Cody promo that went, my gosh, I think it was like 15 minutes, maybe more. But with the next match we got was Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. This match was 6.5 minutes with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark beating Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. The finish was LeRae hitting a code breaker on Stark while landing on the back of Baszler, which led to LeRae getting a 2 count on Baszler. And then moments after that, Baszler caught LeRae in her finish. Stark made a blind tag before LeRae rolled onto Baszler. Stark entered the ring and put LeRae away with the Z360. Then after the match, Caden Carter and Katana Chance came into the ring. They went face-to-face with Baszler and Stark. Asuka and Kairi Sane showed up and attacked Carter and Chance, and then Dakota Kai joined the Kabuki Warriors in the ring while Cole was then hyping the dual challenge with Carter and Chance for the titles on Friday's SmackDown. So we get all of Damage Control really there to fill out the women's tag team championship side of the story, which, this is a 6.5 minute match. It's not exactly, one that I think we're going to remember forever. And they can say they had a women's tag team match on Raw. But my concern of WWE not taking the women's tag team division seriously doesn't get hurt or really improve with this week's Raw. It's just kind of more of the same, which is, you can technically say that you had a women's tag team match because you did. There's no technically about it. You did. But let's look at length of time. That's a factor that you can't underutilize or you can't understate. So, okay. Let's see. McIntyre was backstage. He said he turned his focus to what Damien Priest said earlier. He recalled being a champion and said things weren't 100% right when things weren't right in the world, talking about COVID. He said he's tired of people putting a negative spin on it, and McIntyre spoke about how wrestlers were a constant in people's lives and how people have told him they literally saved their lives. McIntyre said there's only room for one chosen one, and that's him. That kind of hit home. Not that wrestling saved my life per se during COVID. But if you can remember back that far, it feels so long ago in some ways, and in some ways it doesn't. But in a world that was just in flux, I mean, I don't think we remember the total upside down lives we led out of nowhere. You couldn't even go to the grocery store without wearing a mask in most states, especially if you're in, New York, California, Michigan, any of those kind of those states. And other states lifted mask mandates a lot faster than others. But for those that hung on to it, remember the 6-foot rule? I remember even wiping down our groceries with like some kind of alcoholic wipe, right? I even wiped down our mail. It was absurd. You couldn't see family. We lost time in the hospital. If you had a baby being born or you had a loved one dying, it was difficult, if not impossible, to see them. Life events that you'll never get back. Weddings, funerals that we all missed. The virtual stuff, everything was virtual. And so in a world, and I just gave you a small piece of it, and we all have our own personal experiences with it, our own good and a lot of bad memories. The anxiety of that time, the unknown of that time, because remember, if you were watching the news, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread. Well, just 2 more weeks, and that turned into 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. Well, once you get the shot, things go back to normal. Well, more people need the shot, and when more people get the shot, you can go back to normal. I mean, it was this constant moving goalpost. I'm not going to get into the political implications of it, but that's just a fact. It was just always one thing after the other before. Well, when this happens, you can go back to normal. Well, the mask mandates will go back when, and it just continued. So in that world, WWE continued to do what they do. And it was, yes, in front of no one, painful to watch at times because of no one, and I'm sure for the wrestlers it was no picnic. I'm not saying it was worse for the fans because they're the ones who had to actually compete in front of no one when their entire being is there to perform for a live audience. It's got to be so frustrating and difficult as wrestlers to do that. But my point is bringing this all back around. WWE, I can see where they literally did save people's lives because of the mental strain that time took on all of us. Some took it harder than others, and were looking for some kind of normalcy. I remember just thinking that I just want things, you just want your old routine back. You want to see sports again, filled with a stadium, not cardboard cutouts. You want to see a stadium filled with wrestling fans. You want that sense of normalcy back, and WWE did everything they could to make things feel as normal as possible. They were the only sport that continued no matter what was going on, even during the height of all of it, between March of 2020 and, September of 2020, that 6 to 8 month window that was just the worst. WWE continued to do what they do. So when McIntyre says that how people told him that WWE literally saved their lives, I believe that. I don't think that's hyperbole. I absolutely believe that. I mean, think back. It's hopefully nothing like that ever happens again. All right. I didn't mean to turn this into a COVID rant of any kind, but McIntyre bringing that up, it's true. It's just true. Veer Mahan and Sangha. Pierce turned and found Veer Mahan and Sangha blocking his path. Jinder Mahal showed up and took credit for injuring Seth. Mahal said he wanted to talk to Pierce about what his plans were for him. And Mahal asked Mahan and Sangha if now would be a good time. Pierce said he would meet him in his office and said they needed a drink after they walked away. So, at least Jinder Mahal and Veer Mahan and Sangha are on the show, but this is a massive regression from where he was over the last several weeks, working with The Rock, getting a title match. Hopefully there are actual plans in place for this group. I continue to say that. All right. Then we get Damien Priest and Drew McIntyre. This match ended in 13 minutes with Drew beating Damien Priest. The finish was this. McIntyre went for his finish. Priest grabbed him by the throat and hit South of Heaven. Priest covered McIntyre, but the referee was trying to get Truth from the ring. Priest grabbed Truth, tossed him through the ropes to the floor, and then McIntyre hit Priest with the Claymore and got the victory. We then got that was pretty much it for the show. But good hype, I thought, for Royal Rumble. McIntyre would have lost clean to Damien Priest had it not been for Truth's distraction. So that's also very notable. Drew's in a position now where he needs help to beat Damien Priest. And Damien Priest in his own right has come a very long way. I'm not trying to disrespect Damien. He's done an excellent job as the kind of quasi-unspoken leader of Judgment Day along with Rhea. But to really show the fans that had it not been for Truth, Damien would probably have been the victor, it's a bigger deal than we realize. Think about that. Damien Priest almost didn't beat Bad Bunny. So it's a pretty big deal, But Drew did get the victory thanks to R-Truth, who continues to have some moments. They didn't overdo it this week, which I appreciate. And that's going to be the temptation with WWE as they move forward, one that Vince often indulged in. And once he found a combination that worked or stumbled accidentally into something that worked, he would often just beat it to death and then bury it, have a resurrection ceremony, and then kill it again. So with this, though, with Truth and Damien Priest and that whole deal, and Tom and Nick Mysterio were mentioned, which were funny. But you do wonder what the shelf life of this whole R-Truth thing is. And they played it smart this week with just a quick taste of Truth and not overstaying. And I think that was a smart idea. But I don't know if this is a big, what is it? What was it? Was Juicy Fruit gum, if you're a 90s kid, lasted 5 seconds, but also the big stripe gum, the rainbow stripe gum that lasted even less. Then it turned into a stale, piece of bark. That, I don't know if it's that for Punk or if it's like long lasting Trident or something. You know what I mean? I'm making bad gum analogies. It's all I've got at midnight here. So, all right. I think I'm going to end it there, everybody, for the Monday Night Raw review. I got a big week. Obviously, we have a big week here at the WWE podcast for the Royal Rumble that's taking place this week. Every single day is going to have something. Every single day. There's not going to be a day that you don't have at least one show being published. So get ready for content overload. Certainly a lot coming, and I really do appreciate all your support. Tell a friend about us. Follow us on X at the wrestling or at the WWE podcast. Go ad free on Patreon. Best way to do it. You get yourself everything ad free for this weekend, and it's also possible for you to get a 7-day free trial. If you're a new member, we're offering 7 full days for free. That'll include the Royal Rumble, so you can get all of our analysis of the Royal Rumble for free ad-free on Patreon, and there's a 7-day free trial on Apple Podcasts for the ad-free experience. If you're just tired of the ads, it's a great way to get rid of them. And then after that, you can decide how you want to contribute to the show or not. If you want to, take a different path, or if you want to just deal with the ads, that's up to you. But it's the number one complaint about our show on the free feed are the ads, and I get it. But all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here on the mailbag, the Monday Night Raw review. Tomorrow will be the mailbag. I appreciate it. All of your support. Thanks so much. And I will talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.